Stop what you're doing right now. Look at your abdomen. You might be carrying a silent killer that you can't even see, and it could be literally wrapping around your heart at this very moment. What if I told you that two people with the exact same weight and height could have completely opposite health risks? That one could live to 90 with perfect health, while the other might have a heart attack at 45. The difference isn't in what you see in the mirror. It's hidden deep inside your body, invisible to your eyes, but detectable by modern science. In the next 15 minutes, you're going to discover why Harvard doctors call this the silent predictor of early death, and more importantly, how you can eliminate it using scientifically proven methods. Stay until the end, because I'm going to reveal the exact protocol that researchers used to reduce this risk by 67% in just 12 weeks. But first, you need to understand what's happening inside your body right now. Welcome back to the channel. We're diving deep into one of the most important topics in modern preventative medicine: visceral fat. Before we begin, I want to make one thing clear. This isn't another video about losing weight to look good. This is about understanding a real threat to your longevity that most people don't even know exists. Visceral fat is fundamentally different from any other type of fat in your body. While you can pinch subcutaneous fat on your belly, visceral fat is hidden deep in your abdomen, surrounding vital organs like your liver, pancreas, intestines, and in some cases, even your heart. What makes this truly concerning is that you can have a completely normal weight, even be considered skinny, and still have dangerous levels of visceral fat. That's why some scientists call it skinny fat obesity, a phenomenon that's becoming increasingly common in our modern society. The research I'm going to share today comes from respected institutions like Harvard Medical School, Mayo Clinic, Stanford University, and other top-tier universities. These aren't conspiracy theories or internet fads. This is solid science that can literally save your life. What exactly is visceral fat? Imagine for a moment that you could get an MRI of your abdomen right now. What you would see would be both fascinating and potentially terrifying. Visceral fat, also known as intra-abdominal fat, is adipose tissue located in the peritoneal cavity. Unlike subcutaneous fat, which sits between your skin and abdominal muscles, visceral fat is situated deep inside, surrounding your internal organs. A study published in the Journal of Clinical Investigation found that this fat can represent up to 20% of total body fat in men and 6 to 8% in premenopausal women. But here's what's truly shocking. After menopause, women can accumulate visceral fat as rapidly as men. Why is visceral fat different? Visceral fat isn't just a passive energy storage depot. It's an active endocrine organ, meaning it produces hormones and chemicals that affect your entire body. Researchers at Harvard Medical School discovered that visceral fat produces more than 50 different substances, including adiponectin, a hormone that regulates glucose metabolism, resistin, a protein that contributes to insulin resistance, pro-inflammatory cytokines like TNF-alpha and IL-6, which promote systemic inflammation, angiotensinogen, a precursor to a hormone that affects blood pressure. The problem is that when you have excess visceral fat, the production of these substances becomes imbalanced. Visceral fat produces less adiponectin, which is good for you, and more resistin and inflammatory cytokines, which are harmful. The inflammation mechanism. Dr. Matthias Bleuer, one of the leading obesity researchers at the University of Leipzig, explains that visceral fat creates what scientists call a chronic, low-grade inflammatory state. This means your body is constantly in a state of mild inflammation, as if it's fighting an infection that never ends. This chronic inflammation gradually damages your blood vessels, affects insulin sensitivity, and overburdens your cardiovascular system. A 2023 study published in Nature Medicine followed 12,000 people for 15 years and found that those with high levels of visceral fat had 78% higher likelihood of developing type 2 diabetes, 89% increased risk of cardiovascular disease, 45% higher chance of developing metabolic syndrome, 23% greater risk of death from all causes. Let's talk about something that's literally reshaping our body composition: ultra-processed foods. A groundbreaking study published in the British Medical Journal in 2023 followed 44,000 people for 12 years. The results were striking. For every 10% increase in ultra-processed food consumption, there was a 12% increase in visceral fat. But why does this happen? The answer lies in what scientists call the inflammatory profile of these foods. The ultra-processed mechanism. Ultra-processed foods contain a toxic combination of refined sugars, which cause rapid insulin spikes, trans fats, which promote direct inflammation, chemical additives like emulsifiers that alter our gut microbiota, excess sodium, which affects hormonal regulation. Dr. Kevin Hall, a researcher at the National Institutes of Health, conducted a controlled study where people ate the same number of calories, but one group consumed only ultra-processed foods and another only whole foods. The ultra-processed group gained weight significantly faster and specifically in the abdominal region. Chronic stress is possibly the most underestimated factor in visceral fat accumulation. When you're stressed, your adrenal glands release cortisol, known as the stress hormone. The vicious cortisol cycle. Research by Dr. Elissa Epel at UCSF showed that chronically elevated cortisol increases appetite, especially for high sugar and high fat foods, promotes lipogenesis, the process of creating new fat cells, directs storage, specifically to the abdominal region, breaks down muscle mass to convert to glucose, reducing your metabolism. A particularly striking study published in Psychoneuroendocrinology examined women with high chronic stress. Even while maintaining the same body weight, they had visceral fat levels equivalent to women 20 years older. Inadequate sleep is one of the biggest metabolic disruptors of modern life. Dr. Matthew Walker, neuroscientist at UC Berkeley and author of Why We Sleep, calls sleep deprivation a silent epidemic that's reshaping our body composition. How sleep affects visceral fat. When you don't sleep adequately, ghrelin increases, the hormone that signals hunger. Leptin decreases, the hormone that signals satiety. Cortisol elevates, promoting abdominal fat storage. Insulin sensitivity reduces, facilitating fat accumulation. A University of Chicago study found that people who slept only 4 hours per night for 1 week had a 30% reduction in insulin sensitivity, a state that directly favors visceral fat accumulation. Sedentary lifestyle, more than lack of exercise. Sedentary behavior isn't just the absence of exercise. It's a specific metabolic state that favors visceral fat accumulation. Dr. Mark Hamilton from the University of Houston discovered that when we remain seated for prolonged periods, an enzyme called lipoprotein lipase, LPL, dramatically decreases. This enzyme is crucial for fat metabolism. The effect of sedentary behavior? 90% reduction in LPL activity after 2 hours of sitting. Decreased glucose uptake by muscles.
increased insulin resistance, reduced blood flow to vital organs. As we age, our hormonal profile changes in ways that favor visceral fat accumulation. In men, testosterone decreases about 1 to 2% per year after age 30. Low testosterone is directly correlated with increased visceral fat. The cycle perpetuates. More visceral fat equals less testosterone. In women, during menopause, estrogen plummets. Without estrogen, fat tends to accumulate in the abdomen instead of hips. The menopausal transition can increase visceral fat by up to 49%.
Stop the video. Go look in the mirror right now. I'll wait. Look at your reflection and ask yourself this question. Am I living in the body I deserve, or am I trapped in the body this toxic world has forced upon me? If you're like 90% of Americans over 35, you're trapped. Trapped by lies, trapped by processed foods, trapped by a medical system that profits from your sickness. But here's the thing. You're about to become part of the 10% who break free. What I'm about to show you next isn't just information. It's your key to freedom. Your ancestors used these exact methods to live to 90 plus without a single chronic disease. They were stronger at 70 than most people are at 30. And in the next 7 minutes, you're going to discover their secrets. But only if you stay, because once you click away, you'll go back to being part of the 90%, part of the sick, part of the deceived. Your choice, freedom or slavery, which will it be? Strategy 1. Evidence-based exercise. Not all exercise is equal when it comes to visceral fat. Research clearly shows that some types of exercise are significantly more effective. High-intensity interval training, HIIT. Dr. Jason Lawson from the University of Auckland conducted a meta-analysis of 39 studies on HIIT and visceral fat. The results were impressive. HIIT reduced visceral fat 17% more than traditional aerobic exercise. Only 20 minutes of HIIT was as effective as 40 minutes of moderate cardio. Benefits continued for up to 24 hours after exercise. Scientifically validated HIIT protocol. Warm-up, 3 minutes of light activity. High-intensity interval, 30 seconds at 85 to 95% maximum heart rate. Active recovery, 90 seconds at 50 to 60% maximum heart rate. Repeat 8 to 12 cycles. Cool down, 3 minutes of light activity. Frequency, 3 to 4 times per week. Strength training. Research from Harvard School of Public Health, which followed 10,500 men for 12 years, found that adding just 20 minutes of daily strength training was more effective at preventing visceral fat accumulation than the same amount of aerobic exercise. Why strength training works? Increases muscle mass, elevating basal metabolism. Improves insulin sensitivity for up to 48 hours post-workout. Stimulates production of anabolic hormones like testosterone and growth hormone. Creates the afterburn effect, elevated calorie burn for hours after training. Strategy 2. Strategic nutrition. The Mediterranean diet, the gold standard. The PREDIMED study, one of the largest randomized clinical trials on nutrition, followed 7,447 people for 5 years. Those following a Mediterranean diet rich in extra virgin olive oil and nuts had significant visceral fat reduction even without caloric restriction. Key components of the Mediterranean diet: extra virgin olive oil, rich in anti-inflammatory polyphenols; fatty fish, omega-3s that combat inflammation; nuts and seeds, healthy fats and fiber; colorful vegetables, antioxidants that protect against oxidative stress; whole grains, fiber that improves gut health.
Intermittent fasting, the science behind. Dr. Krista Varadi from the University of Illinois conducted multiple studies on intermittent fasting and visceral fat. Her time-restricted eating protocol showed impressive results. 4 to 7% reduction in visceral fat in 8 to 12 weeks. 20 to 30% improvement in insulin sensitivity. Significant reduction in inflammatory markers. 16:8 protocol, most studied. Eating window is 8 hours, for example 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. Fasting is 16 hours, including sleep. During fasting, only water, tea, or black coffee. Important, maintain nutritional quality during eating window. Strategy 3. Advanced stress management. Mindfulness meditation. A University of California, San Francisco study showed that women who practiced mindfulness meditation for 8 weeks had 23% reduction in cortisol levels, significant decrease in abdominal fat, improved emotional regulation related to eating. 4-7-8 breathing protocol. Developed by Dr. Andrew Weil, this protocol activates the parasympathetic nervous system. Exhale completely. Inhale through nose for 4 seconds. Hold breath for 7 seconds. Exhale through mouth for 8 seconds. Repeat 4 cycles 2 to 3 times daily. Strategy 4. Sleep optimization. Science-based sleep hygiene. Dr. Matthew Walker recommends the following protocol. Temperature. Room between 60 and 67 degrees Fahrenheit, or 16 to 19 degrees Celsius. Hot bath 90 minutes before bed, raises then lowers body temperature. Light. Morning sunlight exposure for 10 to 30 minutes. Blue light blocking glasses 2 hours before bed. Completely dark room. Timing. Same bedtime and wake time every day. Avoid caffeine 8 hours before bed. Last meal 3 hours before bed.
Week 1 to 2. Foundation. Objectives. Establish sleep routine. Gradually introduce exercise. Eliminate obvious ultra-processed foods. Daily protocol. Morning. 10-minute sun exposure plus protein-rich breakfast. Exercise. 15 minutes brisk walking 3 times per week. Nutrition. Eliminate sodas, industrial sweets, and fast food. Evening. Disconnect devices 1 hour before bed. Week 3 to 4. Intensification. Add. HIIT protocol twice per week. Start with 6 cycles. 16-8 intermittent fasting 3 days per week. Daily 4 to 7 to 8 breathing practice. Eliminate refined vegetable oils and processed foods. Weeks 5 to 8. Optimization. Complete protocol. HIIT 3 times per week plus 2 strength training sessions. Intermittent fasting 5 to 7 days per week. Strict Mediterranean diet. 20 minutes daily meditation or mindfulness. Complete sleep hygiene protocol. Weeks 9 to 12. Maintenance and refinement. Results-based adjustments. Increase HIIT intensity if needed. Experiment with longer fasts, 24 hours, once per week. Add evidence-based supplements, omega-3, vitamin D, magnesium. Monitor progress with waist measurements and blood tests. Tracking methods. Home measurements. Waist circumference, measured at navel height, fasting in the morning. Waist to hip ratio, waist divided by hip measurement. Progress photos, same position, lighting, and time. Medical exams every 3 to 6 months. Complete lipid profile, glycated hemoglobin, HB1C, CRP, C-reactive protein, inflammation marker.
fasting insulin, DEXA gold standard for body composition. Realistic goals. First month, 2 to 5 centimeters reduction in waist circumference, improved sleep quality, increased energy and vitality. 3 months, 15 to 25% reduction in visceral fat, DEXA measured, significant improvement in metabolic markers, 3 to 8 kilograms total weight loss. 6 to 12 months, 30 to 50% reduction in visceral fat, normalization of inflammatory markers, establishment of lasting habits.
Visceral fat isn't just an aesthetic issue, it's a matter of longevity and quality of life. The good news is that unlike other types of fat, visceral fat responds quickly to lifestyle changes. Every strategy I've shared today is based on rigorous research from respected institutions. These aren't fads or theories, this is applied science that can literally add years to your life. Start today. Choose one strategy. It could be eliminating sodas, taking a 15-minute walk, or simply sleeping 30 minutes earlier. The important thing is to begin. If this content was helpful to you, hit that like button and share it with someone you care about. Quality scientific information should be accessible to everyone. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications because next week I'm going to show you how to use evidence-based supplements to accelerate visceral fat loss, including some that might surprise you. Until then, take care of your body. It's the only home you have for the rest of your life.